2025 budget. Cut proposed 9.4 billion naira refreshment budget, SERAP tells Akpabio. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has called on Nigeria's Senate President, Mr. Gospel Akpabio, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Tajuddin Abbas, to slash the proposed 9.4 billion naira refreshment budget for the presidency. SERAP argued that these excessive allocations should be reduced to address the country's growing deficit and reliance on borrowing. In a statement on its X page, the group said, "We urge the leaders of the National Assembly to demonstrate commitment to addressing Nigeria's debt crisis by reducing wasteful and unnecessary expenditure in the proposed 2024 budget. This will send a strong message about prioritizing the needs of Nigerians over lavish spending." The group's appeal seeks to ensure that public funds are used more judiciously, aiming to promote fiscal responsibility and help alleviate Nigeria's financial strain. Recently, SERAP urged the Senate President to consider the human rights implication of the tax reform bills currently being discussed at the National Assembly. According to SERAP, any discussion and consideration of the tax reform bills must ensure full compliance with the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, and the country's international human rights obligations and commitments. SERAP noted that if properly aligned with human rights standards, the tax reform bills would enhance the ability of the federal, state, and local governments to fulfill their human rights obligations and adequately fund public services as essential for human rights. The organization lamented that some provisions of the tax bills lacked mechanisms for effective oversight and accountability as required by the rule of law in a democratic society, thereby increasing the risk of abuse of power or arbitrariness. So what's your thought on this?
On which of the
on the proposed motion by SERAP telling the House of Assembly to cut the proposed 9.4 billion naira allocation for feeding?
Well, SERAP is very much in order, and but the point is, will the senators, will the politicians listen to SERAP? SERAP has been on these issues for some time now, always calling. Sometimes, if not for SERAP, Nigerians may not even really know how bad certain situations are until SERAP draws our attention to it and then begins to make issues with these people. Now, we are in a critical time. This is a very critical time in our history. There are issues everywhere, especially with the economy, with things. They should be thinking of we're talking about cutting down cost of governance. And at this most critical time, last time the hue and cry was about how much these people spent on procuring vehicles. And everybody was saying, couldn't they have done without this expenditure?
Okay.
And now we're talking about 9.4 billion
Yes.
for entertainment. Come on, you and I know that this is not the time for these lawmakers to be talking about spending 9.4 billion naira on refreshment. However, let's put it this way. In a time where we will be calling for responsible, or we should be calling for fiscal responsibility.
Okay.
Now they are embarking on this kind of expenditure. In the spirit of democracy, in the spirit of good representation.
Okay.
Because they would want to argue that 9.4 is not big. But it is so because it's lumped.
Lumped. How do you mean by lumped?
I mean, they will say, they may want to argue that SERAP is only just looking at the total figure.
Okay.
Now, in the spirit of good governance, in the spirit of wanting the people to trust you as lawmakers, they should come and they should break it down. Let them explain what these items stand for. 9.4 billion is a lot of money in whatever currency. It's a lot.
Considering the fact that the bill, okay?
Considering where we are, 9.4 billion is huge. What makes up those items? Now, let's not even go into the arena of, sometimes it's like last time we heard about budget padding.
Yeah.
I hope, allegedly though, I hope this is not also another case of maybe these items were mistakenly padded and put out there without somebody cross-checking properly. I just hope it's not that case. But be that as it may, I believe it is huge. It is huge, and not at this time, not any time for that matter, but Nigerians are becoming more aware, and we are now in a situation where people are beginning to learn to ask questions and make demands. So if these lawmakers truly are having town hall meetings with the people they ought to be representing,
Okay.
if they are having the kind of conversations they ought to be having, if they are in tune, or let me say if they are in touch, because they can be in touch and not be in tune, if they are in touch with reality, with the reality of how Nigerians are living, you cannot want to say you want to spend 9.4 billion naira of taxpayers' money, of Nigerian revenue, on refreshment. How important is this refreshment?
What would you suggest then? That they propose that they cut it down? So is it just cutting it down? Can't it be, when we're looking at the budget, we found out that agriculture is missing, SMEs missing.
We'll come to that, sir. You see, let's face that item now.
Okay.
Entertainment. Like I said, what constitutes this entertainment? What are the items on this list? Because you don't just pick a figure, 9 point. What are the things? There are some things that you will even see on that list. You will not only be offended, you'll be angry.
Okay.
You find it insulting on the collective intelligence of Nigerians. You understand?
Yeah.
These people are representing the people. It's not just a group of, it shouldn't be done like it's just a group of individuals out there for themselves. You understand? There are some things you do, it's offensive to normal sensibilities. That's just what it is. So now it's not about, okay, let's say cut it down and then apply it somewhere else. Because it's not like you're going to remove from entertainment and add it to agriculture.
Okay.
No, that's not what it is. Let's look at those items. Now, SERAP is calling for discussions. SERAP is calling for conversations on this. So let's look at these items and let's see what it is. Some of the items, not just about cutting down, some of them should be removed in its entirety.
Okay.
Yes, it should be removed in its entirety. Okay. So that being said, you were saying something about the amount allocated to SMEs.
These sectors we are missing.
Yes, these sectors were missing completely.
Yes.
It still means that the budget document is not complete, or somebody had an oversight. Like I said, because if these documents had been thoroughly gone through, we won't be at the point where we are now talking about entertainment 9.4 billion and agriculture is missing. What is supposed to drive cottage industries, SMEs
Yes.
is missing. And then we're saying we're about to present a budget that will drive Nigeria, move Nigeria to the next level.
Note, the budget has passed second reading. It's actually after having passed second reading, we are waiting till January when plenary will resume for this budget, meaning it's almost into implementation. This outcry, would it affect anything?
It should affect, because just that, I don't know, we have the kind of Senate we have, because by the time plenary resumes, remember last time when there was so much hue and cry about fuel subsidy, about hardship, what did the Senate president say? He said, let them strike if they want. We'll be here, we'll be eating. Last time he said, anywhere you see food, go in and eat. So basically, he was making a caricature, I dare say. He made a caricature of the hue and cry of it. He made a caricature of the cry of Nigerians. So will this actually make any impact? Your guess is as good as mine. Will it really make an impact? But we also will not say that because it will not make an impact, then people should not speak. People should speak, so that let it be noted that while they went about doing the wrong thing, there were those who spoke and their voices were not heard. There were those who spoke and they were shouted down. But it must be on record that people spoke.
Before now, you spoke about what we were discussing on. You talked about Dubai's intentionality, if I remember, recall rightly, intentionality in carrying out its duties as a government for the people. What lessons do you think we could copy from them regarding these infrastructures? Like you said, we are blessed with these minerals, but we're not utilizing them to its full amount, like the profits. Meanwhile, in Dubai, they decide that instead of going out, we'll bring these things here. So starting from the bill, from this appropriation bill, how intentionally do you think the government could go in making we the masses understand that, okay, we aren't just feeding here for our stomach infrastructure per se, but we are also putting the needs of Nigerians into consideration?
Okay, to this, what I will say is this. You see, what I've observed, what I've noticed in Nigeria is that we just play politics with everything. We just play politics with everything. And as such, we don't even understand that even in this politics we play, that there is even the politics of development. Okay. Like if you see what is happening in the Middle East, look at the Gulf region compared to what is happening in the West, you see that there is a way these people went about their own development. Like you mentioned Dubai, that's why I'm going to mention the Gulf region now. You see that these people came to a point and they decided to build up their own place in such a way that you don't need to travel out of the MENA region to the West to get anything. In fact, those of them in the Gulf region will tell you that Dubai is our San Francisco. They will tell you that Dubai is our Paris, that Dubai is our Miami. Because basically, whatever it is you want to go get, whatever kind of vacation you want to go get in the US, in France, whatever vacation you want to go get in those areas, you can find it in their place. So, based on this intentionality, they develop every aspect of their being. Every aspect of their existence. So you see, our people, we've not even started playing policies of development yet.
Okay.
We don't understand. We don't do development. Now, you have somebody in power, whether it is River State, whether it's at the federal level. If he comes up with a good policy, no matter how good it is, you see people attack it, want to bring it down because it's of the opposition. Now, he has a bad policy that will be inimical to development. People will not speak up because he's their party member. So when you say this thing will not be good for Nigeria in the final analysis, people get angry, they get offended, they attack it because they feel you are about to pull their party man down. And that is the problem. That has been the bane of our problem. And that has been the bane of our development. And that is what has also often led to policy somersaults as we know it in Nigeria. Okay? So that's what has affected us. So if only we can be a little more intentional and always look at the totality of what affects us, we cannot be in a place where we are saying the country is in a mess and suffering, and some people will now allocate 9 9.4 billion for refreshment or entertainment.
Do you think, in your opinion, that the budget, the 2025 budget, was or is overambitious?
I've heard that in several quarters, and to a very large extent, yes. Why? Because the budget has been drawn,
okay,
and then you use with an exchange rate of 1 naira to $1,400, right?
Proposal from 1,700 to 1,005 per dollar.
Yeah, 1,005 naira per dollar.
Yes.
Okay, and naira has been rallying between 1.6, 1.7, 1.8.
Currently 1.7, yes.
Currently 1.7, yes. But it's been rallying around that period. So I really would have loved to understand the mindset. I would have really loved to understand the mindset, the idea behind pegging it at that figure, knowing that this is where it's been rallying. Unless there is a magic, unless there is something that the government has in mind, there is something they intend to do. Probably they believe that by the time they finally implement it, dollar will be hitting maybe 1,003 or 1,002. Maybe that's what they have in mind. But then I would have also believed them to be correct if in that budget there is a deliberate plan to work on infrastructure.
Okay.
Because the infrastructural budget is still not considering the dollar rate.
Okay.
The figure they allotted to infrastructure, I don't see us achieving this dollar benchmark. Now, I don't see production increasing. Okay? I don't see any deliberate plan to improve the power situation. SME is clearly missing. Agriculture is missing, which means import will not improve. Export, will not improve. Production capacity will not improve. So I wonder how, unless it's just maybe there is a plan they have, which we don't know yet.
Okay.
Maybe it's a secret that they intend to shock us with, so that we will not have our wow moment. Wow, they knew what they were doing after all.
Okay.
Maybe, just maybe. But besides that, looking at what is on ground, what is on the table, and what we have on record, I would just expect them. I'm hoping for a miracle. Really.
Hoping for a miracle.
Yes.
That's why the budget was tagged the budget of restoration. So we anticipate to see what will be restored.
You know, it's very funny. If you say it's budget of restoration, there should be some elements.
Okay.
There should be some ingredients that you would look at and say, okay, these things will truly engender, restoration. These ingredients will truly spark off a kind of industrial revolution,
okay,
or agricultural revolution, or things. I don't know. Maybe there are things that that will come up that maybe they've hidden it under other aspects of the budget that we don't know about. Maybe. But for SME to be missing, agric is missing, it means government is not ready to spend, like you said, according to you. I've not really read the full budget to identify for myself if truly agric is missing.
You would.
Yes, So for agric to be missing and SME is missing, and we are saying is a budget of restoration, well, maybe there's an angle from which we want to pursue this restoration.